So first of all, hello, my name is Daniel. I want to get a feel for the audience here. So could you tell me how many of you are actually working with, like as a producer or project manager, driving teams? Could I have a hand? All right, very cool. All right, and how many are on a higher level as in CEO, founder, biz, or something like that? Okay, cool. All right. So I don't like hiding behind the podium here, so I will try to sneak out. But yeah, so I really want to talk about building teams and building teams and building studios. For me, I've been working in the industry around 15 years. I started with MMOs, started with, as a designer, and then I worked my way through different type of games and different type of productions and different roles. I worked with single-player games, MMOs in the beginning of MMOs, Anarchy Online, and these kind of games. And then I went back to games that are, yeah, let's get everyone seated. And then I went back working with games as a service, but a bit more casual, working with King, and I did Petrescu there. Saga for mobile and web, and now I'm at Goodgame, and I'm at the role where I build studios now, and I came from a role where I was doing design, understanding the games, but then building teams to kind of do good things within games, and then actually building teams to actually do great games. So I want to talk about some of the experiences, what I think works and what I think is important to focus on, because in the role as a studio director or a producer, you are super busy and you really, every minute and every second of your time is super important where you put it to get the most out of it. And so it's easy to take shortcuts when it comes to some of the things I'm going to talk about here. So I want to explain why I think this is important. All right. So to give you a little context, right now I work at Goodgame Studios. It's a great place. I really like it. What can I tell you about Goodgame? It has a lot of games. The company has made a lot of games, mostly strategy games, a lot of registered users. The most famous titles are Empire and Empire 4 Kingdoms. Goodgame also has a big farm, and right now a lot of products coming very soon out of Goodgame. So, founded in Hamburg not so long ago, with headquarters there as well. So there's a lot of people working at Goodgame. I think right now we are around 1,200 people. But the studio is split into, or the company is split into studios, production studios, and then central departments supporting all these studios. And this is important to keep in mind because the things I'm going to tell you kind of uses that context as well. So I'm not going to talk about how to fund something indie. I'm going to talk to you about how to work within a bigger environment. And yeah, it's a company that has very ambitious goals, of course. So the casual studio is actually the studio that I'm running right now. So these are the awesome people there, and they're really great, of course. And building a studio, you have to think, there are many, many steps along the way. So for me, the absolute first step is who are you reporting to, right? Because whoever you're reporting to gives you the mandate. That person gives you the mandate and ultimately the money and the maneuverability to kind of accomplish something. As a studio head or as executive producer, sometimes you have full profit and loss responsibility. You would be working with budgets. You would be working with what direction to take. You will be pitching games and ideas, and then you would be getting go or no go on those ideas. Probably you would be doing concepting, pre-production, all that stuff. But I'm assuming we're at the point where you have the mandate, you have the trust of whoever you're reporting to, and you are going ahead to do that, right? So where do you really invest your time to reach the results? Hopefully you're reporting into a CEO. So as you can see on this picture, there is studio, casual, and then studio. And then you have many studios that reports into some kind of C-level person, hopefully then. Taking it to the next step, looking at the structure, you can have synchronized and unsynchronized according to me. So this is what I found when you build the team structures. I usually tend to go for unsynchronized studio structure if the technology forces me to, if there's not enough synergies. If I make a cross-platform game and there's not enough synergy, Let's say we make a really casual title. We would build it perhaps in Unity for mobile. We would perhaps build it in Flash for a Facebook version of the game or a web version, I don't know. And simply because of the synergies not being there, you would go in an unsynchronized way where the teams kind of are more independent. If that's the structure, I really tend to put 2 strong product leads in place to drive these teams or producers. And yeah, there will be some fighting between them because they're at the same level, they report to me. But sometimes you really need to push the different games on the different platforms. The preferred way is, of course, if you can have synchronized structure. And for me, the synchronized structure means that there's enough synergies in the game that you can have one team and perhaps some strike teams within that. But you have one team with really clear leadership, and there's one product leader, executive producer driving that. So I think this is really good if you can achieve that, but not at the expense of ignoring that there are no synergies there. Technology choices are completely different, and you run a lot of risks. So I think this is something to keep in mind. So you decided on the structure. You found the right way to go, you think. And another thing before you decide on this, I just want to mention, it's really important to think of it as there's one person that not only drives the team, but also is the coach of this team, right? Because this person should not be able to do everything. It should not be a product leader. Producer should not do everything or be able to do everything. It's rather a coach of a all-star team, right? So that person needs to be able to coach that team of people. And that's why I really like to have, as you can see here, a lead dev reporting to this producer, an art director. I don't like matrices where art directors and leads, devs are outside of the product team. So, because you don't get this kind of connection with each individual to one product if they're not reporting into that product's kind of leading champion or coach or producer. Yeah, we can talk a bit more about that if you have questions later. Anyway, so you have decided on the structure. So what is really important for you to focus on? Well, to sum it up, I will go into more details, but to sum it up, I would say the people, because you're not doing the work. It's the people doing the work. So how do you make them perform, really? Because it doesn't scale if you do the work, right? Yeah, sure, you can go in there and tell the art director, this is the perfect solution. You can go in and tell the lead dev, this is the perfect technical way to go forward. But that's not how you scale the business. So you need to really make them independent. So how do you do that? For me, you really have to start with the hiring, right? So the hiring is something I spend 70% of my time doing. And it doesn't mean that I'm 70% in interviews, it means that I drive the hiring efforts in the studio and in the company. So I actually have daily meetings with recruiters, daily meetings with sourcers who try to find me the people, daily meetings with everyone who is really imperative for us to recruit the key people. And then in the interviews, I have a really clear focus. I have really high benchmarks of the people I need, and of course everyone has that, but high benchmarks not only in skill, but also in the cultural fit. And this is like, yeah, buzzword, right? Cultural fit, what the hell is that? But it's super important because these are teams that need to work independently, and if they're not gelling, if there are frictions there, it's not going to work. So for me, it's 50-50. I always do like a skill check with the lead dev for a developer, let's say we're hiring, yeah, or whatever, and then the developer would tell me, yeah, good enough skill-wise. And then I determine the cultural fit, right? And to do that, that would be another point. For me, it's really, really important, this moment you have with the person that you're about to put into your team and this person that's about to make your game or perform for you, I really push that part, really. So for me, there's not one single interview where I don't try to push through whatever facade this person is setting up. I would say, if I haven't broken through this professional facade that people put up, then I haven't accomplished what I want to accomplish in an interview. So, I'm already past I've already gone through half of my time, and I'm not halfway through my presentation, so I will try to hurry up. I'm sorry, guys, if I'm a little bit stressed from now on. So, once you get the people in, you need to really find out who are the champions, because you're hiring people and people and people, right? So who are the real people that are driving the studio forward? I call them pillars, because it might be your lead dev, your art director, your product lead. Some of these are your pillars, and you really, really need to spend time with them as well. This is well invested time. You need to get personal with them. You need to have them be natural with you. You need to have them be honest with you. You need to have them, because ultimately you need that to trust them, right? I think here there are no shortcuts. You need to spend time with them. As you get better at this, you could actually lower the time invest there, but I think it's really important. All right. It's really important also then to foster this relationship even further, not only getting to know them and making them feel valuable, gaining the trust, and having a good relationship, but you also need to help them grow, right? Because we're looking at not only short term, so medium to long term, you have to help them grow. I think it's really valuable to focus on coaching. So just coaching. So I really think it takes a lot of confidence to just kind of take a step back and let the person go a little bit in the wrong direction. But if you do this in a way where you control it, you let them take a couple of steps in one way, a couple of steps in another way, and you help them find out why was that not a good way. It's more helpful than stopping them too early, saying, no, that's wrong, do this. I think this is so important, but it takes guts, right? And I really suggest everyone who drives a team, who has producer responsibility, look into this part. So I do a lot of coaching and mentoring. I let people find answers within themselves. It's really important. That's how they learn and grow. And of course, always push them out of their comfort zone. So whatever you do, if you see they're getting comfortable, change something, do something. Let them just be just outside. Doesn't matter what they're doing, what position they're in. Yeah, I'm skipping ahead. So specifically creative people, this is like a different breed for me. Like creative people are really, really different. You have to put another kind of facet into the equation here. I would say creative people really have great ambitions. They want to create the best, most beautiful, awesome game, right? And this is good. This is very good, and you need to kind of foster that. I think what's really important is that not only do you need to contain it in the sense so it's possible to make a game out of it, but without killing their creative spirit somehow. I just use a lot of positive reinforcement and never settle. Like push them, push them, push them, push them, and never settle and push them to do to implement whatever they think is the greatest version of doing it, and then let them rework it 3-4 times. And yeah, in essence, they're just a bit different. And I think that their ambitions, you should not put out their fire, but being too realistic, and in the sense of containing them, saying that's not possible. Watch out for lead devs turning off their fire, their kind of creative fire. This is important, but of course you need to judge how much it affects time schedules. Yeah. So, and you need to extend that to the whole studio. So I spend maybe 10% of my time to make sure that I have these short interactions with everyone, that I care. Like if someone looks like he's not feeling so good, I take him to the side and just check, hey, is everything okay? How's it going? If I see someone a bit quiet in the studio, he usually is not quiet, I take my time to talk to these people. I think that everyone needs to feel in touch with you, even if you have to take a higher level role, even if you have to worry about the budgets, you have to worry about recruiting, right? But take your time from time to time, look out at your teams or your team, how many you have, and see if you can spot some people that are really not at their regular levels, and just spend some time with them. I think it's important, and the payback, what you get back is like really high loyalty, and you get really, really good retention, because people come to talk to you then. Then if they're not happy, they come to you instead of just resigning and leaving. So I had many cases where people come and talk to me before they leave. I improve the situation, and they don't leave, and they were key people. So, and all you do is you spend a little bit of your time caring and having a little bit personal time with the people on the floor. All right. So, passion. Everyone talks about passion, right? We want passionate teams. We want people to come to work and feel great. Of course, you want that. But I just want to highlight, where does it come from? Usually, it comes from, of course, we want to make great games, so we're passionate. But I would argue a lot of it comes from the leaders, right? So if a leader is super passionate, the team gets passionate. If a leader is worried, the team gets worried. So you are the kind of fire that keeps them burning. So you need to come into work and be super passionate, and you need to be it honestly. If you're like kind of faking it, they feel it. So you have to really believe in the team and the product. And if you don't, leave that at home. When you step inside the door at work, you believe in everything. And you're 110% going forward, and it's going to be great every single day. And keep in mind, they are feeding off you, right? So it's so important. And if you can't do it, I would really, really recommend it that you hire someone to do it. Like, if I hire a project manager, and I see the product leader, executive producer is more analytics driven, I really hire someone that can drive the passion then and who is super engaged. But with the product and the team, not just super positive because life is great or they're on drugs or whatever. So this is really important, I would say. All right, and that's pretty much it. So really, it's a lot about people, right? And I would say there are and recruitment, getting them in place, fostering them, making sure they grow, providing the passion, right? And in the end, yeah, what can I can wrap up with the teaser down there. Might be a game coming out of Goodgame soon, might not. So keep an eye on that. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
So what do you recommend for smaller teams?
For smaller teams, I think everything is relevant until, so like basically I'm looking at building a studio that scales. So I build teams. For smaller studios or smaller teams, you have one team then, but basically. I would really focus on the recruitment because you get one chance to recruit the people and that's it. Usually you try to keep them, right? It's not like you want to rotate them a lot. I wouldn't do that. So recruitment would be super important and then the rest of the stuff still applies. Yeah, follow up?
So the structure part, you actually leave that out?
For the structure part, I would just do one strong producer, if that's you or someone else, that's the producer. You have a layer of people that are the art director, lead dev, whatever, all report to you, and then they have their reports. This is usually how I drive it. And that's both as a resource and disciplinary, right? So you do the career management, long-term, short-term goals, and all that stuff for your people. And like sometimes maybe it's a challenge for you to develop or to help develop people that are out of your discipline. Like maybe you're not an art director, maybe you don't know lead dev development. But think of it, you're the coach, right? Find the answers within them. They have the answers. And if they don't, maybe peers can help, right?
A question I have is, you mentioned as a head of studio you have multiple teams, right? With a producer on each team.
Yeah.
Can you sort of talk on, you know, I can imagine that these teams, like the producer of the team would be the one who is sort of, you know, taking the team along, getting them enthusiastic, having the drive there.
Yeah.
Whereas now there's someone from higher, sort of going down the hierarchy and sort of having these very personal talks. As
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand my, is there a conflict there or not at all?
There's a conflict if you undermine the person caught in between. So the product lead or the executive producer caught between, that's what you mean. That person, you don't just, as long as you don't undermine that person, then it's fine. Because basically I'm building connections with the kind of floor people in a sense where I'm really not telling them what to do. I'm not telling them they should do this or that. I'm listening to their concerns. I'm getting to know them. I want to hear what their kind of day-to-day problems or if they're happy or not. Maybe I can take on the design hat and say, hey, I have an idea. Do what the hell what you want with it, but here's an idea. And then they really do what they want with it. If you keep it at that level, I think it works. But yeah, sometimes you have conflicts. But as long as you have then also a good connection to the executive producer, you can talk about it and just solve it. Because, you know, of course, you can sometimes accidentally step on someone's toes, but I think with time you'll learn that you can avoid it, yeah, almost completely.
Thank you.
Speaking about a couple of teams who develop one game for different platforms, right? Facebook and mobile, for example. And you have two producers, and you said that there are sometimes fights between them.
Yeah.
They might be.
Yeah.
How do you deal with those kind of fights?
That's a good question. So it depends on the personalities of those producers. So it's like you have to feel it a little bit. So there are a couple of ways. Either you try to mediate between them, you try to find ways for them to work together, you force them into sync meetings, you force them into talking about their plans and being there. And just make it a discussion, but if you're there, they can't have conflicts, right?
So you're not just telling them, you're right, you're wrong, and we'll do it my way.
I force them to align. I tell them, we won't do anything until you align. So that's the next step then for me. If it doesn't work, I keep putting pressure from above. So we're approaching a deadline, we're approaching something, and they are dependent on each other. I don't care. It's your problem, it's not my problem. So I just push them down and give pressure from above. Come on, are you delivering? Where's the stuff? And then they have to look past their differences to deliver, and then maybe they get the conflict again, but then you just put more pressure. So positive pressure, not evil.
So how can you manage teams or different teams if they're not located in the same country or city?
So this is a kind of, I've never been in a situation where I can manage remote teams, remotely individual contractors, It's difficult, I think, even working with just contractors. Like for me, I need the team there, in place, so I can be there with them. I even have two seats. I sit with the team, and then I have the other seat where I have to sit next to the CEO and talk to him, so 50-50. And I want to be there with them, and it's important for me. That's a really important part of my way of working. So I don't like to have remote people at all.
Daniel, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Great lecture.
Cool, thanks.